Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Wait a mic, trying to get my camera centered there. How about you, Rico? How you looking in there?
Let's see, I'm supposed to be over here. There we go.
There you go. Is that comfortable for you?
When I'm closer to you, yeah.
Oh, all right. All right. Rico's being sassy. I'm going to turn it that way. Now you got more room.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and then me. Oh, man. I'm like Gigantor in this thing. Hold on, you guys. Hold on.
Gigantor.
Got these old guys trying to figure this out. And that's way off. Should have gotten that done before.
Who are you calling old?
You. That's what I'm calling old. Okay. I think that works good, right?
Yeah, it looks good.
Up here. You look up here.
I'm looking at my camera.
No, I mean to see how we're framed.
Yeah, it's over here.
Oh, God. I didn't
See?
realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the what. Okay. Hello, you guys. Okay, let's see. So check out the any chats. I hope you guys can hear us.
Yeah, testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Testing 1, 2, 3,
Testing.
4.
Testing.
Is anybody out there in
In digital land.
digital land?
I see Joey and Robbie and Susie and Sally.
No, we don't see anybody, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean here's our chats.
Oh, no chats yet, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably early in the morning for some folks, you know. It takes them a minute to wake up.
I don't think so, dude.
Or it's late at night, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's late at night there in India. It's
Absolutely. Might even be tomorrow.
let's see. Was
Origitune says, good morning.
Origitune, Scott.
Scotty.
Very good.
There he is.
Can you hear us, Scott?
100% clear.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay. So, we're going to do a demo, and this time what we're going to do is Origitune. Scott had asked how I animated this scene right here. It's a short little scene, and I was just actually doing this trying to figure out a new app. I was playing around in Procreate. So I was playing around with it, but I did this pose to pose, you guys, and I'm going to explain the whole thing to you of how I did this. So I came back into TV Paint and put in the charts and everything. I'll explain all that. But what I had originally done, you'll see down here on this level, you will see two poses. Pose 1, three, and pose 3. So there's 1, 3, pose 3, pose 2, pose 3. Those are the storytelling poses, and those are the poses I initially did. And if I play this, I did a pose test of the allotted time that I'm allowed on this scene, and I made this scene 4.5 feet long, which equates to 72 frames.
16 frames a foot.
16 frames a foot, yes. Remember, 16 frames is a foot of film. So whenever someone in animation says, how many feet is it? You think by 16. So if it's 2 feet, that will be 32.
Exactly.
So, and so on and so on.
And half a foot's 8 frames.
And half a foot is 8 frames. So this scene is 4.5, 4.5 feet frames long, which is 72 frames. Does that make sense?
You lost me.
Did I?
No, I was reading the chat, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So that's what it is, 72 frames. I know it is. So I got that much time on my exposure sheet. Now, you guys, I'm not that worried about the exposure sheet. Do not get all caught up in that right now. Everybody gets all caught up in it. And they get afraid of it. Gets intimidating.
Over preoccupied, maybe something like that.
Yes, and you don't do that. Don't do that to yourselves because it's not necessary, and all it's going to do is freak you out.
In general, yeah.
In general, because when Rico and I weren't we when we were first doing this, like, what?
Oh my
in
God!
the
Yeah.
heck is that exposure sheet?
The two things that would freak most people out, including ourselves, were charts and the exposure sheets, which is the timeline now in most programs.
Exactly. And they both mean the same thing. So I know that I've got that certain amount, 72 frames, to do this scene in. So what I did was I created these storytelling poses. This little character is there, jumps up in the air, and then lands. Those are like the storyboards. And they're very simple, and I do these poses just to put them in there, and then I expose them to work with the allotted amount of time, which is again 72 frames, 4.5 feet. And then I expose them and I put them in there. And the first one I put in there for 32. You can see right up here, 32 exposures. I held it for 32 frames. Next one was held when he's up in the air, is for 1 second, which is 24 frames. Then the next one is for 18 frames when he lands, and he's those are the key those are the extremes, as Richard Williams says. So there he is, and there it is. That's what the main point I gotta get across is him jumping up high, then lands and strikes a pose.
I got a quick question from Art with Amar B. It asks the extremes. I guess he wants more clarification on what the extremes are.
The extremes. They are your first main poses, just like these extremes. When I was being taught, I think Rico too, we went to the same school, so
yeah,
we were taught about extremes, but it's sort of, for me personally, it just turned into the main key drawings. That is the way I looked at it. I call them keys also.
May I interject?
Yes.
There's a definition that I've heard over the years, probably from the school we went to, where they called extremes. An extreme drawing was defined by an extreme movement that goes in the furthest in any one direction. Like if it goes, that's the furthest it goes to the right, that's the extreme there in that direction. And then if it goes all the way up to the top, that's the furthest extreme. That's why they call it extremes, because it doesn't go any further than that, or it doesn't.
And that makes total sense. Yeah. I actually just learned something that makes total sense of why they would be called extremes. And so these would be extremes. These are the ones saying all the extreme staging and poses of where the character is.
Origitunes has a quick question.
Okay.
Does that mean that 72 drawings you did? Does that mean that there's 72 drawings that you did for this scene?
No. It does not mean that. That means you will see as I proceed here, I'm going to explain some of the drawings I held for, I can't remember. We'll look at it, for 6 frames and another one for 14 frames. That's where it's up to you as the animator, and I'll explain that. But to answer your question, definitely no. That does not mean that I did 72 drawings.
But it's 72 images total on the timeline. Is that right? They're images that are being played in a sequence.
Oh, there are 72
frames,
filmed images.
Right. Even though maybe some of them are still held, it's still 72 images.
Yes.
That's what that refers to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making it clear,
Yeah.
Kind of keeping it real, for everybody.
Absolutely, Vato, man. We know how complicated this is.
It's easy to misunderstand this stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to be as clear as possible.
And you guys will get it. Trust me, you will get it. If a dummy like me can get it, trust me, you can get it.
Oh.
So there you go.
You're not a dummy. None of that self-deprecation.
Especially if he could get it, it's really something.
What's that, Louie?
No, Mike's much more fluid at this stuff than me. So anyway, let's proceed here.
Okay, sorry.
No, that was a good question, Scott.
Yeah, these are all good questions.
Yes. So okay, one more time, we're gonna look at this. I'll call them extremes right now. I usually just call them my first set of key storytelling poses. Now we're gonna go from that that one. And here is my next, let me get it starting there. My next pass that I did. And this is where I put in more keys. And I consider these really more of the key drawings. Just more drawings to describe what's happening in the scene, to simplify it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I got another question. This one's from Ketso K. When drawing extremes, do you plan your easing before, or do you add easing, or do you add them at the breakdown stage?
As far as slowing in, slowing out, easing in, easing out, I do all of that as I proceed. No, when I do my first extremes, I'm not thinking about slowing in, slowing out. Also understand I usually do thumbnails before, so I know some of the poses, but no, I do not. Even at this junction right here, I'm looking at it, and now because we've animated so much, you understand it more in your head. But as we proceed, did I answer that correctly, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Also, Marb asks, so you are now going to do the breakdowns, right? That's what he says.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yes, I'm putting in some breakdowns.
Okay.
So just more drawings to describe the action, yes, which are our breakdowns.
Cool.
Or
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it.
Okay. So there he is, and now being aware of numbering the frames roughly, you're going to see right up in here. There I got number 1, 21, 29. Those are the rough numbers, you guys. Don't think that you're stuck with those numbers. That's just what I roughly put down after I did these drawings. The main thing I'm doing here is I'm feeling out the acting and the movement. That's the main thing between those extremes. So then he comes in here. I know that it's important for him to smile. That's an important part of the scene as he's looking at the camera. And then he goes into an anticipation. He's got to get up into the air. So there he is pushing off the ground. Pops up into the air. Up in the air, and he's popped up into the air, and I know that he's going to be hanging up in the air for around 24 frames, around a second. So I create another drawing to show a little bit of movement as he's up in the air, which is also known as a moving hold.
Ooh, could I ask a quick question about that? Would you consider that another extreme or no? Kind of. Because it's like
I would consider it a key.
Okay.
A key. A key is the way I would describe it.
So it describes that he's going to linger up there for timing.
Exactly.
Sakes. Okay.
We can see him lingering up there.
Gotcha.
His head's coming around this way. The body's kind of going counteraction that way. And I could have done that. Does not mean that this was the only way to have him up in the air. It was just my choice. There is no one way to do anything. It just matters what you want.
So true.
So true. Thank you, Rico.
So true. Oh, I got to reinforce that one.
Yes.
There is no one single way. There's many ways to skin a cat.
That is the art of animation. That is where it's the animator, the art of it, character animation, of how you perceive the movement and the acting happening. Hopefully you'll get it by with your director so it goes smooth. So
Yogesh says, I am so lucky to get lessons from experienced guys like you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing that.
And you're welcome. Yeah.
We're just hoping that you're getting something out of this. Okay, so there's our next key, and now he's coming down. He's coming down. I got to figure out a pose that's going to describe how he gets down to this last pose right there. So there he is. He's up there roughly for 24 frames, 24 frames a second. Comes down roughly. I'm not married to that drawing, but I'm feeling it. And as I'm doing this, you guys remember, I'm flipping these drawings when I'm drawing these. You've seen in other videos where Mike and I are drawing. We're feeling those drawings. This isn't just some mathematical intellectual process. It's a matter of emoting the feeling and the movement. So very important. Don't forget that. So these are being flipped as I was doing this. So then he's coming down, down, and then he lands, and this was a second pose I did. My first pose I had done, I didn't push the pose enough, and it didn't feel right as I was flipping the drawing. So I went back in and didn't give up on it. I erased it, came in, and came up with this pose. He lands, pops up. Here's an overshoot, or what a follow through, you can think of it as they say, right, Rico?
Yeah.
You know, just he goes beyond the point and then he comes into that.
It's also called an overshoot. Sometimes,
yes,
yeah.
Overshoot is what I usually call it. It's just going past the point. And then he comes into this last pose right here. You guys, there it is. That's the last drawing of the extremes I had done. But I did not want him just to freeze in there. It was my choice. Doesn't mean it's the only way. I did not want him to freeze in there. So I made one more drawing that has him settling in. You'll see a little bit more stretch. The ear follows through, that both ears follow through, and the arm comes down. That arm comes down that way. And this one goes back slightly, and the hand opens up right there. So I created this very last pose just to make him cushion in a little bit. That was just my choice. I did right there.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
Emmanuel Cadilla asks, is it necessary to follow exactly where the pose is exposed in the animatic when doing the extremes? I would say no, because it always shifts around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, an animatic is just kind of a test, and then you...
yeah, the animatic, you don't... even on your pose tests, like when I've done pose tests, and it's working, I figure out the poses, we change it, right?
Oh yeah, it's a constant changing. It's like when you paint, right?
Exactly.
What's the analogy with painting to animation? Just as a side
it's
note.
it's sort of like you put down your base colors, and then you got to put on colors on top of that, and you keep working. It's like sculpting. Let's say you got some clay, and you're putting on pieces, then you tear off pieces. If you're working in stone, you're chipping off pieces here and there, and it's all roughed out. If you ever seen Michelangelo's sculptings that he never finished, you're going to see these forms. They're really cool to look at. You could see where it's just, I don't know how he did it, but you could see the forms starting to develop in it, and some parts of the figure are much more finished, and it's the same process. And it's just like music. You know, you first come up with the basic chords, and then you add more to it, and just like all the arts.
It's animation it's a constant development in work in progress, and you keep adjusting it until you get it finally where you want it, and then you go, cool, that's great, I can move on to the next section or whatever.
Right, and a good thing to add on to that is a lot of people will say, well, I'm not sure where I want it. Sometimes you're not sure. That's why thumbnails are good to do. But if you find an area where you feel like you're going to plus it and make it better, go ahead and do that. You don't have to stick strictly to your thumbnails. Now, you don't want to go too off of them because it changes the entire scene, and then you're going to be lost, because that's the whole idea behind thumbnails, is to where you have a rough idea of where you're going with your scene.
It's a guide and a plan,
yeah.
That you can attack. I have a couple comments and a question here.
Okay.
Yogesh says, it's already 11 p.m. and I'm going to sleep, but then I get the notification of this and my sleep has vanished. And Origitune says, I'm glad to hear that, by the way. Origitune says, that's brilliant. Thanks for going through the animation. Makes it a lot clearer. I find myself doing too many drawings and it makes it look all jittery. I learned a lot by your explanation. Cheers.
Cheers. Very good. Very good. Now you're going to see the next pass.
There's one quick question.
Oh, okay.
Amar B asks, for young or learning animators and people relearning animation, are drawing motion paths to maintain the arcs, is that a good thing? Or until you mentally can see the arcs without the need for these lines? In other words, he's asking, do you need to keep drawing in those paths of action until you just can visualize it by yourself? I try to put it in whenever I need it, so I never exclude that as a process. I try to put it in as much as possible because it keeps it on point, you know.
Yeah, and if you need to put your arcs, talking about the arcs,
yeah,
right?
or the arcs, yeah,
or drawing in your arcs,
path of action to control the arcs,
right? Yeah, if you need to draw those in there, go ahead and draw them in there. This is just the rough pass, and if that's going to help you, especially in the beginning, to keep your animation more fluid and rhythmic, by all means, yes. I draw them in there all the time. You don't see it in this scene so much, but as you get more experience, you put them in less, I would say. But a lot of times I'll see where it staggers, and it's like, oh, I went out of arc. I went out of that path of action. You know.
Yeah, it jitters around.
Yeah, if it jitters. So yes, keep it in there when you're first learning. Keep them in there as many frames as you want. You got to understand, if you draw that arc in there for 5 frames, that's a glimpse. It's going to fly by when you play it at speed. And that's the thing also to remember in animation. What we're doing is an art form of feeling the movement. We do see the drawings, but we feel them more than seeing the individual drawings. So getting back to the path of action, the arcs, putting those in, if you got them in there even for 10 frames, you repeat it and repeat it for those drawings of a certain element that's moving in that arc. That's fine. You know, you're learning how those things move, and usually arcs, for the most part, have a round arc to them, paths of action. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. I got another comment. Manuel Cadilla says, by the way, thanks for making the staggering timing video. It really helps my work.
Oh, good.
So that was cool. And Chadwick Grant pipes in and says, hey guys, is there any animation practice exercise that I can do, like, for example, bouncing ball? I think a bouncing ball is an excellent beginner exercise because you get volumes, arcs, paths of action, you get squash and stretch.
You get yes.
There's a lot of principles.
You get everything in there. So yes, everybody should start with the bouncing ball. If you're able to pull that off, and then if you want to challenge yourself after that, you could draw in, you got your ball, and you can draw crosshairs on it and make that rotate, these crosshairs. You make it rotate as the ball is bouncing and squashing and everything. Those are like, here's the eye line, center line, and if you can do that, or Mike had a good one. He would make a bouncing ball, then he would turn it into a rabbit and put on something like this.
Yeah, I'd put a little head on there and some arms and legs and then a tail or something.
You could do that after you get your ball.
Floppy ears.
But if you're able to control all those volumes and arcs and everything, spacing, timing, with the bouncing ball, that's why everybody says to do it in the beginning. That's going to really behoove you in the future of animating your characters.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the next level. And what we did here is we put in more drawings. And here are the drawings that I put in. I put in these drawings right here, and you're going to see how I went here, there, that's a new one, back up, smiling, that's not a new one, and then he's coming out of it, up, 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 that's a new breakdown right there. I wanted to feel this movement as he comes and pops up into there. I wanted to feel it. So I did that drawing totally for the reason of feeling the drawing, feeling the movement, the aesthetics of it. Nothing to do with like there was a rule or something. I wanted it in there so I could understand it better personally. So it comes up, I put that one in there, pops up in there, and then I right in here as he does that movement up in the air, all I did was I charted it. I didn't put in any drawings there because I know it's just going to be in between. And then he comes out of there, pops out, and this is where I put in another breakdown describing the action as he's coming down in that arc right there. I wanted to describe that arc. Comes down, there's the drawing I had done previously, comes out of it. This is a new drawing as he's dragging. He's coming up and the head is dragging. I could have even done that. I won't change it now. But the head is dragging back here as the force of his back is pulling him back in the opposite direction. And then he pops up into this, and that's a quick snap. That's just all I wanted. And here's a new drawing, a breakdown showing how he gets into this pose. On the level before, I didn't have this drawing. So I did this quick scribble drawing showing how he goes. And there you can see I put in an arc to show how his head is coming around. And he comes through, new drawing, showing how he gets into this pose, and then he goes into that last pose. Now, the thing to understand with this scene, let me go back. The thing to understand is after I put in all those drawings and I hit play and making it work within that time period that was allotted, I'm still staying within the 72 frames. I put those in, then I came in and started to put in the charts. This is at the point. This was after I did the drawings. Is that making sense?
Yeah, in fact, we have a question from Koketso K that applies to what you're talking about right now. How does one improve the pacing of making timing charts, as I seem to overchart or keep it all on evens? So it sounds like they're putting in too many little tick marks for in-betweens and stuff. I would focus. Charts are mainly for slow ins and slow outs.
Mainly, yeah.
For and cushions of movement.
Well, cushions, and they also, for instance, let's look at this chart right here. We'll just go from drawing one. Here's a chart right there. Drawing one is going to be held for 14 frames. There's a good example. I didn't in between all the drawings from 1 to 17. Hold on. Rico's going crazy over
Pardon
here.
Me. Woo! Little allergies.
I gotta clean the office. So, look right here. So, I did not do all the in-betweens. I could have if I wanted to. I could have, but I didn't want to. Too lazy. Didn't feel like doing all those drawings. So, number one is being held for 14 frames. Okay? So then 15 is going to be slowing out from number one into 17. Now, here's the important part. Here's the chart. Right here. I'm going to make a new chart. I'm going to show you step by step. Number 1, 17, and then I put in a dash right there. Right in the middle, I put that in there. I put in this loop so I know and the assistants know that this would be the middle, but that is not where I want number 15. I want number 15 to be favoring number 1 right there. So when I do that, I'm going to get more snap into my timing.
So that first dash you put in is an indicator of the halfway point between those two drawings.
Thank you.
And that's a nice reference for you to put in that next one, so that when you look at it, the distance between the first two drawings there, you can locate where the halfway point is and then draw in reference to that. So
Exactly.
So that's like an invisible
And
indication.
here, let me turn on the onion skin, and we will see that there's drawing 1. I should have forgot to write in 15 here. There's drawing 15. Now look, everything is favoring. There's not much movement in here. I forgot to draw that handed. Not much movement. It's really the blink, but it's favoring drawing 1, and then boom, he just blinks right there. Now look, the next drawing, 17, I'm doing the same thing. And I learned this from The Illusion of Life. This is how they said to do eye blinks way back then. I've always just sort of stuck with. Again, like Mike just said, here I'm showing, indicating to myself or the assistant that this represents the center. So that means that number 19, because I put in a number there, is going to be favoring number 17. I come out of there, he's just starting to favor it, it's favoring it, and then he comes up into that pose. Then again, 21, I do the exact same thing, just to get that pop. So 21, understand, is being held for 21, what's that? How many frames did that? 6? Yes, 6 frames is being held because the next drawing is 27. I hope this all makes sense. Is 27. These are on 2s. 27. So then I'm going to slow out of 21 into 29. It's being held. 21 is being held till frame 26 because 27 is now going to be slowing out right there. You can see how 21 is favoring the green drawing right up in here. It's favoring it. Now, am I mathematically sitting there, and I used to do that, but I don't really think it's that necessary. But you want to be pretty accurate. Does that make sense when I say that? Mathematically trying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just more of like feeling it. But you can just see it's favoring it, and then there's the big spacing, the gap in between. And then on 29 to 33, we're on 2s now. There's constant motion. I just put it directly in between. It's just steady movement. Same thing there. Right up in here. I put in that in between there. And there's 34 coming up into it. Now you'll notice here, right there, he's popping up, coming up there, and it's favoring this one a bit more, and boom, pops up in there. Now we got these charts right here, and these are equal distance. No slow in, no slow out with these 3 in-betweens, 37, 39, 41, because I just wanted it to be a constant movement. That's the only area here that I think I just put in a constant movement. If you remember, if you got a car that is coming across the screen, and here it is coming across the screen, it's going to be evenly timed out. There's not going to be a slow out or slow in because it's just so that's an example of an area to where the timing will be evenly spaced. But for the most part, like Mike said, things slow in and slow out. That is the normal movement.
Quick question from Arabal, who's actually using Google Translator to type in what, communicate to us in English, which is kind of cool. I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't either.
So the question is, that said, would like to know if he can animate the spacing in thirds. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right here. That's what this spacing is. You see, because of the loop, here's an important aspect, you guys. Watch. See, I call these loops right there. Those loops are implying where, if it's going to be evenly spaced or if it's slowing in, slowing out. If I come up here and I wasn't that conscious of where I had put these ticks on this chart, but I go like this, and then like that, and that could be misleading for the assistant. That could be like it's 39 is right in the middle, and 37 be favoring 35. That's why this loop, for me, and I'm not sure. Do you work that way, Rico?
Yeah, those little loop things are just a visual reference to check the, to show, it's kind of like a breakdown of how these drawings are connected together and how they relate to each other.
Yeah.
You know, because you could make, well, I don't want to get too deep into it, but if you make your tick marks on your chart a little more favoring, but you still put that little loop, that still might mean a halfway, even though it's, you know.
Exactly, because some people got really sloppy charts. They'll just put it down real quick, and it's by the loop that you understand what they mean by it. But I don't want to get too caught up in that. That isn't the essence of animation. Just understand, when I put in these loops like that, I'm implying I want it to be a consistent movement. It's not slowing in or slowing out.
Yeah.
Not easing in or easing out.
The whole purpose of the chart is twofold. One is if you're in a studio situation and you animate something and then you have to hand it off to someone else to finish it up and, you know, fill in the blanks, that's what the chart is for. So it's a guide. It's just a reference. That's all it is. It's notes for them. And also, if you're doing your own scene and you're not handing it off to anyone, you're going to follow it up. They're notes for yourself to refer back to so that you don't lose track of what the heck you were thinking.
It was really well said. That is what they are. They're just notes, and that's why you'll see charts like this. I've seen charts like this, you know, one.
Hey, David Nethery just chimed in and says, "Hi, Rico and Rico. I missed the first part of the show." Oh, great! Now you didn't. You missed the whole thing. You missed the secret of animation. So now you just tune out. That's Big Dave.
Hello, David.
He knows all.
He does know all. So, I'm sorry, you guys. Let me get back. I've seen charts. Let me redo that. I've seen charts like, you know, this. You know, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. I just mean really, really something like that. You know, and it's sort of like hard to read. But because of those loops, I'm able to understand
what's halfway.
What's halfway and what's not halfway.
Cool.
I think animators should put a little more time into the charts, but whatever, because a lot of times animators will work with the same assistant for years, so they understand their language and all that. Okay, so there we got him up there. He hangs, and then he comes out of it. Here again, we're going to, you see right here, did I put in, oh my, you guys, oh no, here it is. Sorry, I was hitting the wrong buttons. Here we go.
Nice.
Here we go.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Here we got number 43. No, you're right. I was like dorking out. 43. There's 43. Notice how 45 again is really favoring number 43. I've also, you guys, just as I've done this as reminders for me. I'll sometimes have a chart like this. 43 to 46. And I'll put in halfway mark, put in another dash right there, and then I'll put in this one, and I'll make that 45 right there, which is super favoring number 43, just favoring it more. I've done that, and that's a note, just like Mike said. It is a note to myself. Wayne, remember, when you go to put in this in between, you really want it to pop. So that's another way of doing a chart that is favoring even more so. I hope that makes sense. But on this one, I'm just favoring it a bit more. So you'll see as I come down to 45, notice the black drawing, how it is much closer in all the different elements compared to the orange drawing underneath it, right there. So I hope all that makes sense. And that is how you get the variety of timing. Someone earlier had asked, how do you get away from making your timing look too even and kind of, what would you call that, underwater?
Yeah, kind of mushy in the
Mushy,
timing. It's
yeah.
not snappy or doesn't have any texture to the timing.
Right.
It's too monotonous.
You're right. You want to think of timing sort of like music. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, instead of da, 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 very boring.
Right, right.
You want to mix it up a little bit, yeah.
So then you continue on here, and then I just continue on. And also, by the way, I want you to understand there are moments where there's drawings on ones and drawings on twos, and some drawings are on 6s, 14s, and that's it. And so I held them in certain areas. Comes out, then he comes down into it. And here we go, 51. I wrote the chart in. That's because I in between all this. I wrote the chart in, and it makes it easier when I pre-plan, put the charts in there to go put in the in-betweens. And then I put in the in-betweens. All the in-betweens are they're the frosting on the cake. They make everything smooth and pretty. And you could do everything on ones also if you want to, but you don't need to, unless you're Richard Williams.
Yeah, I got an interesting comment from David Nethery here regarding the sloppy chart thing. He says, my philosophy is if an animator does sloppy charts, he doesn't get to complain if the in-betweens come back looking wonky. You have to set up everyone down the line for success. Be clear.
Yes, and I agree with that 100%. Because I actually, although I didn't do sloppy charts, but I didn't indicate them correctly. I had to learn on the job. And when I saw, and I felt bad for the assistant because he'd done all this work, and it was just one section of the scene, and it was my fault. And I realized from that, you got to be clear. You want to be clear, unless you've been working with someone, like I said, for years and years.
I got a comment, actually 2 questions and a comment. Johnny Holland pipes in and says, this is great stuff. Do you guys have a live session every Saturday, or do you announce them somewhere?
Rico and I would do it every other Saturday for right now, right?
Yeah. Life interrupts sometimes, I'm sorry to say, but human beings aren't robots. It's not always going to be perfectly spaced, right? If there's a death in the family, we can't do a show.
We're working on it. It was sort of like we had planned on one. I had to cancel because my back went out really bad.
Yeah, see, there's a perfect...
I couldn't even get out of bed. So we do it, as of right now, we're doing it every other week, and on one-on-one animation Instagram. Yesterday I announced it, and I'm going to try to be better about that. You guys, we're pretty casual about all this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be a little bit more...
Very relaxed.
Yeah, we're just relaxed about it. And understand, you're always going to have these videos. You can watch them on our YouTube channel. So they're going to be there for you in case you miss it.
That's a good point. Here's a good question. I'd love to hear how you answer this one.
Uh-oh. Well, I think I'll ask you to answer.
No, I'm ruminating here. I'm trying to think of how I would answer this. Coquetzo K asks, how do you know when to switch from ones to twos and back and forth, etc.?
That is a great question, because that's just what I was about to talk to.
Aha!
So, here is my rule of thumb on that. Fast actions, ones. Normal actions, twos.
Which is pretty much everything else, kind of.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way I look at it. Unless you got an action, like one time I animated a scene, I remember on Cats Don't Dance, and it was just a close-up of Danny the cat, and his feet were dancing and tapping. And I just thought twos would be fine. And it wasn't like it was moving that fast, but I had to describe the action more, so I did end up putting it on ones. So that's my basic rule.
And here's a phenomenon that pops up, and I know you must have encountered this too. I know I have. When you're trying to animate something like that, and you're trying to put it on twos, let's say you're doing something straight ahead, and then you shoot it and you go, oh man, it's too slow or whatever. I got to add some drawings, or too fast. I got to add some drawings to slow it down. And then you start to realize, wait a minute, this is not working on twos. It should be on ones, or vice versa. It's not working on ones. It should be on twos. Then you start to learn how to space the things initially when you throw down the drawings.
Exactly.
To counteract that and get it the way you want it the first time out of the gate or whatever.
Exactly.
If that makes any sense.
No, that made total sense. So let's go through this. I'm going to show you right here on in this area right here. Here we're on should be okay, this drawing right now is number 49, and then I'm going into ones right here. So this is on twos, number 49, because we can see it's 49, and then the next number is 51. So if it's on 49, that means it's 4950. It's shot on twos. Then we go to 51. Now I'm going to ones right here in this area. The reason why, because this is a very fast section of the scene. The movement is quick. So I want it to be full, and I want it to feel, the viewers to feel it. So I suddenly go from twos to ones right up in here. And I continue on with ones right in this area. And then
Cool.
I'm on ones, and then I go back to twos right here where he settles in to that last pose.
Cool.
Right in there. So that's a good example. There's no point, as far as I'm concerned, to put these poses on ones.
And also to even further elaborate on answering Koketsu's question about how do you know when to switch from ones to twos, I would recommend experimenting. Animate something and start messing around with that.
It's the only way you're going to learn.
And then you'll get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is basic rule, fast actions do on ones, or if you really need to describe some type of action, do it on ones. But fast action ones and slow and normal actions on twos. Mm-hmm. And then if you decide to later, you can do it like put everything on ones. Only problem I have with everything, I think Rico and I both agree on this. When you do everything on ones, it's sort of like you can fall asleep. It's almost hypnosis. It looks beautiful. Trust me. I mean, Roger Rabbit, that's all on ones. Beautiful film. You can do it all. You just don't need to. I like the texture of ones and twos, me personally.
Yeah, and also you'll find that, I'm sure you've experienced this too, you'll animate something and you'll go, okay, there's too big of a gap between these two drawings. I need to insert a drawing because it pops too much. So then you're automatically put it on ones, let's say.
Exactly. That is such a great point.
Yeah, that comes up.
It's sort of like you do your pencil test and it's sort of like, oh, it's all working, but right in there,
It needs a descriptive drawing.
Yes, and it turns out all you needed to do was put in one more drawing, put it on ones. It's like, problem solved.
And it's okay if it switches from twos to ones there, just as long as that movement is there and it doesn't pop.
Absolutely, man. It's okay. Everything's okay. That's the thing. Also understand, the audience does not know what's here. All these charts and everything. They never see that when it's a film or a commercial, whatever you're working on. They don't know what your process is, and your process is going to be little Rico's and I's process. I think they're basically the same. I do straight ahead animation in certain sections. That's something I want to bring up before I want to make this clear. Understand what's really important when I'm going to turn this off. What's really important when I'm animating this right there, it's not like I'm sitting there mechanically thinking to myself, okay, I know because I got this chart here, it's got to be right there and there. man, I'm animating. I'll flip the drawings in a straight ahead fashion to make sure that it's feeling right.
Oh,
Is that making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I should. There's some difference in nomenclature nowadays, which is the
In
wording.
what?
In the words that we use, like when you say
Rico's
flip,
getting all intellectual.
when you,
on me.
I gotta get intellectual, man. Yeah. So when you're talking about flipping, that's an old school term where you're flipping the drawings in the papers. But now most people, that's scrubbing on the timeline.
Scrolling,
Just to
right.
be clear about that.
He is right. Sorry about that, guys. When you're scrubbing, is scrolling also a term?
Scrolling, yeah, scrolling or scrubbing, because you're going through the drawings because you're just like scrolling through the it's another term. Yeah.
Okay, so he is absolutely right. I am scrubbing through the drawings when I do this.
You're always checking them.
I'm always checking them. And look at this, you guys. I just realized something. Look at the mistake here. But it's fine. This is my rough pass. Look at the volume of the head right there. I come down there. Ooh, man, did I lose some volume right there.
Oh, jeez.
Then look at how big the head gets there.
Good gravy.
Good gravy.
What were you thinking?
But look at that. We're feeling the motion. Now, when I come back into it and I tie it down, I'm going to be aware of that. But when we look at it at speed, we don't really see because we got all those lines there. This is at the point where we just want to get our animation working. That's what I mean. So as I'm scrubbing through it, I'm feeling it. I'm working. At this point, I could be working straight ahead. I definitely work back and forth scrubbing through to make sure that it's flowing and working right, even if I got those charts. One last thing I want to bring up is we're going to go back to ones and twos again. We're going to look at this drawing here. This drawing is held for 14. And then this drawing is held for 2, 2, 2. This one's held for 6 right there. 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2s, 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 1, 1, 1, 1, 2s. Because it's a slow action, I can cushion into it. And then I went, ooh, ones. I kind of messed up there. See?
It happens.
Right. It happens. I should have been on twos. Ones, twos, 1, 1, 1, 1, twos, 14. So there you go. I was playing around with that one area there. I'd messed up.
I got to catch up on some of these comments and questions real quick. Let's see. Okay. Emmanuel Kadia asks, is it right to think that when doing a stretch, the squash always follows? Not necessarily, right?
But usually.
Yeah. But, you can break these rules too.
Oh, yeah.
It all depends what's required in the scene. But yeah, generally speaking, yes, on that one. David Nethery chimes in and says, Roger Rabbit has some swimming ear scenes where the in-betweens are too even. And it looks like it's all too,
And distracting, yes.
Right. Your eyes starts looking.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ears instead of Roger. But I was so fascinated by animation. I still like seeing movement. But that's a classic case of over animated.
Okay, here's another one. Where is it? Here we go. Yogesh asks, do you guys ever get frustrated while animating? Like, oh man, it looks wrong, but I can't figure out where I was wrong in the entire animation. No.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, I remember reading The Illusion of Life. Ollie Johnson's talking. I mean, here we're talking about one of the masters of masters, and in this story he's telling, he does the animation, thinks it's working. Back then, they'd get the pencil test the next day. Looked at it and he goes, oh, I can't believe I forgot that basic principle. Yes, everybody, all art, you get frustrated. That's what makes it interesting, challenging.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do want to say this. When you're first learning it, it's really infuriating. And don't let that bring you down. Understand, I believe I have seen everybody interviewed in the industry. I would ask people, would find out, these legends. It's like, wow, they went through it. Like our hero, Del Bear. I had no idea. I thought he was just born with this ability.
Yeah, I thought that too, because he makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
Or
And it was like, no, he just worked his butt off. So do not get discouraged in it. Remember, every scene is the next step forward.
And the more that I do and get into it, the more I realize how much he broke his butt trying to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Each new level opens up a whole new vista,
And you guys got a real, I tell you, advantage. Like Mike and I, we would scramble for Xerox, 5th, 10th generation Xerox scenes and try to copy and try to figure out what they were doing in them. And you know what it really came down to? I think in the very end was trying to feel that animation. The timing is going to come with time. The keeping your volumes and everything, that also will come with time. You just try to figure out what works best for you, pose to pose with straight ahead, or just straight ahead animation. Everybody, I heard Frank Thomas he animated straight ahead. I heard. Is that true? Was that true?
How would I know if that's true, Rico? I wasn't there.
Well, I don't know. I thought you were, you
I'm
geezer.
giving you a hard time. Jack Stollery says...
Picking on me.
Gotta pick on you. Jack Stollery says, hey, this is probably a silly question, but have you guys ever had experience with 3D animation? Love from Scotland.
Rico. You did 3D.
Yeah, so have you.
Oh, 3D. I was
3D,
thinking,
like computer
I was thinking claymation. Man, am I old.
Oh, I've done that too.
Yeah, Rico did claymation. I did very little. Very, very little. Mike's done much more than I did.
Koketsuke asks, how do you do straight ahead? I tend to rigidly stick to the charts. I don't even refer to charts when I do straight ahead. I just start with a pose and I just start flowing and moving it the way I feel it should go, and then I just make adjustments as I go, and then I chart it after I'm done, if I need to.
For that full classic Disney type animation, I think Rico's right on that. I think you just do your thumbnails. I always recommend that. Have an idea where you're going.
Otherwise, you're going blind.
Or else you're going to get lost in that room.
And waste a lot of time.
And then get really frustrated. And yeah, if I was animating straight ahead, I've animated scenes straight ahead, just sitting lying down on my bed, just on the what was that thing called? iPad. Thank you.
Here's another good question from Johnny Holland. What do you think about the method in the Richard Williams book of combining straight ahead and pose to pose? Start with the keys, breakdowns, and then do straight ahead runs on different parts.
That's sort of what I did here. I don't know if you were here earlier. That's basically the approach I did for this scene right here. That's basically it. And you guys, another thing I want you to know in this scene, I could take out drawings and change the timing of it and make it, it's all up to you.
Yeah.
But that's basically the way I did it. Or if I had my thumbnails, I could have animated this scene straight ahead. I would maybe end up throwing out some drawings or putting in some drawings. But the only reason I like pose to pose, because I can control the volumes much better for me.
Arabol asks, did you meet Eric Goldberg?
That was a turning point for me. Mike got to work with him.
You worked with him, didn't you, on Fantasia 2000? Weren't you guys in the same?
No.
Oh, I thought he was right down the hall.
Well, he was, but I was scared. I got to meet him. I was getting laid off. They were laying off people from Disney, and I wondered. That is where I learned pose to pose for the first time, to really understand it. I was getting laid off, It's just a quick story. And I said, well, what have I got to lose? I'm going to knock on his door and ask him. He was so cool, man. He let me in. I didn't call him up or anything. Just let me straight in. Showed me a video of the approach. That's before his book came out.
Oh, wow.
Of how he did it. And I was like, wow. And I went home, tried to do it. Couldn't quite grasp it in the beginning, and then started to understand it a little more and more, and he was totally cool. He is one of my all-time heroes.
I have to add to how cool he is, because one time I went over to visit you at your desk, and you and I both went and knocked on his door, and we kind of peeked in and said, hey man, how's it going? And he said, hey, yeah, come in. I want to show you guys the flamingo sequence that I just finished.
I think, man, I didn't remember that.
Remember
Are you sure
that?
that was me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wasn't there alone.
Oh, okay. I thought
So,
maybe you were someone.
He was showing us the video of the finished, I can't remember what the sequence is called, but it's got the flamingos with the yo-yos.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're watching it, and we're totally digging it and laughing and stuff. It was really entertaining. And I noticed that he was kind of standing back watching to see where we laughed.
Oh, was he?
If we were laughed in the right places. And of course we did. Of course it's funny.
Oh,
you know?
it was just...
So yeah, that was really, really nice of him. He didn't have to do that. He could have said, you know what, I'm busy. Why don't you guys take a hike? But he invited us in and showed us the whole sequence. It was really cool.
Never, man. Never saw. He actually came to Brandis one time. I had no idea. With Tom Cito was the teacher.
I missed that.
Yeah, no, you weren't there. He comes in, and he comes in and he just starts explaining his animation. I was a student. I didn't know anything about it. He started drawing on the chalkboard these perfect drawings in sequence of a character doing a head turn or something. And I was so intimidated by his drawing and the way he was able to maintain this on a chalkboard. And maintain the volumes, and he's explaining everything. I think I was just so blown. I thought you had to be able to draw like him.
Sure helps.
It does help. Draw. But I do want everyone to know he is a rarity in the way that he can draw. I've never seen any Dan Haskett, Leonard. A lot of people, but Eric Goldberg's way of drawing is really unique.
Here's an interesting question from Emmanuel Cordia. He says, would you suggest to draw in every 4 frames in keys and then put in-betweens on 2s? Like start out with 4s and then fill it in on 2s. That seems kind of too even for me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think about that too much, about like putting something on 4s right away. I would just throw down the things and then shoot it and time it and then start to adjust it from
No,
there.
I do this. Yeah, I agree with Mike. Because I think, like he said, everything would be even at that point. I do this sometimes. If I'm in a real hurry, I don't have time to do the thumbnails or anything, and I'll animate the scene. When I go to just look, and I'm not using the pose, I got a lot of breakdowns in there, let's say, and the scene feels pretty well described. I will put them all on 4s just to see the animation, because I know if I put it on 2s and 1s, it's going to be going by way too fast. I'll put it on 4s, but I know that that's not going to be the timing. From there, especially on a timeline on the computer, I can quickly say, okay, this one I'm going to put on 2s, this one on 6, and arrange it from there.
That's interesting. I do that too, but sometimes I'll put it on 6s and 8s at the first pass just to see what happens.
It's the same idea, where we can see the drawings. So I do that, but it changes up.
It's an immediate feedback to see what's too fast and what's too slow.
Exactly.
And then you adjust from there.
And the thing about it is, when we used to do it on paper, if you still do it on paper and you shoot it on film or video, the thing about it back then, it made us have to understand timing better. That way we weren't, because we didn't have the simplicity of holding and dragging a drawing, holding it on 2s to 10s, whatever and we were taught we had a teacher, Leonard, and Robinson, and he had this theory, and it worked pretty good. Well, he said, what was it?
You told me about that. Like
416.
It's like I think it
Glimpse.
was 515 rule or the 616 rule or something.
Well,
I think it's 515, right?
Right. He said 515. The only problem with that is that I used that, but if you go 515, that means you're doing everything on ones. So I say 4/6, meaning 4 frames or 6 frames is a glimpse. It goes by like that.
Fraction of a second.
Fraction of a second. So you get used to that fraction of a second. 16 frames is a pause. It's not a second. It's not 1001, then gone. It's a pause. It's just a pause. And it was a way in the beginning when we were doing it on paper that's like, okay, I'm thinking of this as a glimpse, this movement in here. For instance, when this character, where's that? On ones right there. When he comes up there, that's a glimpse right there. We're feeling that movement. And that's on ones right there. So it's on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is. It's the 6. It's on 6 frames. That's a long glimpse, let's say. But it's going to go by quickly. You know that. And that's a pretty good system to use, I think.
It's like a little rule to follow that helps, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. Or actually, it's not a question, it's a comment. Arabelle says, "It's incredible. I learned a lot from Eric Goldberg's book and your acting video." He says, they say, it's very difficult to find acting information on the internet.
You know what? I should make more of those videos. We're going, because we're trying to, we told you before, we're trying to figure out a way to make money doing this. But we'll get more into, we'll do some live streams on acting.
And performance.
Yeah, and performance.
Maybe dialogue too, right?
Well, that's the one I did. I think it's the one with Cool Hand Luke.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's
what does
cool.
he say?
He says, what we got ourselves here is failure to communicate.
Unbelievable. I'm such a dork. I animated the scene, and I got to go to Rico to say, what was that scene about?
Well, I'm such a fan geek of your stuff. I would watch it 50 times.
But that one's got dialogue and acting on. But we'll get more into that. I tell you what, and the thing that's good about dialogue is a lot of people get intimidated by it, but a lot of the work is done for you.
And in some respects, it's actually easier because you've got a guidepost to go from instead of trying to make it up out of thin air. It's way easier and more fun to do sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, hand me that. Rico, can you hand me the water? No, there's no water.
And then I say, what water?
But it's like so if I go, Rico, can you hand me the water? I put a little bit of caricature into the voice, the sound.
Yeah.
And you listen to it, and you can sort of see the acting, and you know who the character is, hopefully. It's not a character like this little character here. It's one that you sort of know, or your directors have told you who the character is, and you got an idea. And it's sort of like you do your thumbnails real quickly of, Rico, can you hand me the water? And you'll know the attitude of it. And a lot of it's done for you. And the timing's done for you.
Yeah. And there's different things that are emphasized and not emphasized. See, that helps too, with what you're going to focus on for certain beats or whatever, or parts of the performance.
Exactly. Like when I said that line, Rico, can you hand me the water? Rico. He's emphasizing Rico. I could have him go, Rico, up forward, or Rico, go back.
Yeah.
And all sorts of stuff.
As a quick example about that is when we're animating on Hades in the movie Hercules, James Woods' performance in his dialogue that he delivered was so good that you just listen to it and you go, I know what to do. You don't have to sit there and go, now what am I going to make? That doesn't make any sense. What does he think? What's the character think? You know exactly from the way he delivers it what to do, what the visual is going to be. It just pops in your head really easy. So.
Yes, that is a really good point. You don't need to have a famous actor, but if you got there's a lot of people who are not famous who are good actors and they can do really good voices.
Absolutely.
It was like when we worked on Cats Don't Dance. I got to work on Darla Dimple. She was great. There was just no question of what her attitude was, so you could see it clearly. Where I think Danny was harder.
Yeah, he was. You know,
a little more generic.
Yeah, sometimes the straight guy or the lead is not always the most interesting character. Usually, it's the villain's more interesting.
Right. Exactly.
Jack Stollery asks, please do more acting videos. A lot of students' work is lacking the heart. That's a comment. Sorry, not a question.
Okay.
Arabol asks, when the dialogue is very fast, sometimes I don't know how to do the lip sync.
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a good one. You kind of have to slur it, you know. You have to make the mouth shapes kind of morph. You can't hit every little single accent. In other words, like if I say, "Hey Rico, how are you?" I don't do mouth shapes that go like, "Hey Rico, how are you?" Because that's gonna look all jittery if you go too fast, right?
Yes.
Hey Rico, how are you? But if you look at my mouth when I say, "Hey Rico, how are you?" It's kind of like those shapes kind of morph and blend into each other. So you smooth it out.
Yes. James Baxter has a video online where he talks about dialogue. It's really good. And he talks about that aspect of it, of one mouth shape moving into the other one. I recommend checking that one out. And also get The Illusion of Life. Get all the books, you guys. Mainly get Illusion of Life, Richard Williams and Eric Goldberg's book, and the Preston Blair. But mainly, I'd say those three books. Get those. In The Illusion of Life, they talk about where they were animating scenes from Song of the South, and the rabbit was talking so quickly that they couldn't figure out. It was just, they never had dialogue delivered that quickly. And what they realized is, first of all, they had to do it on ones. They had to. It was just that fast. And they had to move the lip sync back. Hit the frames. Instead of 2, I think it was 3 frames ahead.
Oh, wow.
That's what they claimed on that.
Huh.
But the main thing is what Mike said. You just got to listen to the sounds more than listening to the words.
Emmanuel asks, can you please make a video on how to make lip sync and how to read the sound? And Yogesh says you already have a video on lip sync.
I do. So if you check out One-on-One Animation, man, I'm telling you, we got videos on every aspect.
Over 100 videos.
Yeah. So just take your time. Go on there and you'll find a video on, I think, every subject. But we can do a live stream on that.
Arabol mentions something very interesting here. In Spanish, the dialogue is so fast sometimes. You know how they rattle off all the words really quick. And they do that in other languages too, not just Spanish, I noticed. Like Japanese can be really fast. Or,
yeah.
You know, but that's...
it's still the sound. It's the sound, you guys. You don't want to think about...
individual consonants or anything.
Yeah, you don't want to think about it. You want to think about the vowels, which are oo, ah, ee, like that. And then you got the consonants. But you want to listen to this. That's why... if you check out the video that we have on YouTube One-on-One Animation, when they break it down, the sound readers, when they break it down, they don't break it down describing the word. They're breaking it down as far as the sound. That is, like if I go, hello, like that, that's going to be broken down different. It sounds differently than if someone goes, hello. You got 2 completely different hellos there. Hello, like that, and then hello. It's going to be different mouth shapes to express it and how you work from one shape into the other. And the other thing to remember is you snap into those shapes. Do not sit there and think you need to animate in-betweens and create what I call mushy mouth, where you, just like Mike showed you.
Coquetzo says, thank you, gentlemen, for your time and answering my questions. I am logging off and hope to catch the next stream. You are welcome.
You are welcome.
And Amar B says, YouTube, I didn't know this. He says YouTube has a feature where you can search a person's channel for the topic as well. So they can look for your lip sync video by searching. I guess
do they?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's what it said, yeah. Let's see. Emmanuel Cudilla says, in Toon Boom, there is a way of doing the lip sync by mapping the soundtrack, and Toon Boom provides the lip sync. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but, well, if you can learn from that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's a kind of a nice tool. Oh, it says Toon Boom provides the mouth shape, he means. Yeah, they have a lot of programs that allow...
I gotta interject there. I gotta tell you, a standard mouth shapes, that's what they used on TV cartoons.
The Flintstones?
Like Flintstones, Jetsons, Huckleberry Hound. They would use it because they had to. I understand why they did it, but if you're going to be looking to do full feature quality, you don't want it to be standard like that. Again, you want it to be the sound that is being projected by the actor.
I have a recommendation for lip sync and mouth shapes, for something for you guys to watch. Go on YouTube and search for the doorknob in Alice in Wonderland when he talks. There's no body, there's no arms, no gesturing. It's just the face and the mouth shapes of him going, ow, making all these sounds.
That's right.
Beautiful dialogue.
Beautiful. Frank Thomas animation. That's also, they use to explain dialogue in The Illusion of Life. They use that animation from that doorknob. And that's a really good page. That's probably my favorite part of The Illusion of Life. Well, that's a lot of parts. But when they talk about dialogue in there, they explain it pretty well in there. Because on that page it shows like 4 different characters, but they're showing the consonants and the vowels, but how the different mouth shapes are executed.
Just as a side note, can you hit play and have this loop over and over so they can see it play? Just so they can absorb it? Yeah.
Should I make it big?
While you're talking. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just so they can see. Watch it play.
I think it looks better small. Anyway.
Oh, by the way, that's a good test if you want to see if something's reading clarity-wise, is walk across the room and watch the screen from across the room. If it still reads clearly, you know it's working.
That is a good test, yes. That's a good test. And a really good one is after you're done, take a break and come back and look at it.
Very important.
And you're going to find all kinds of like, oh, there's that. Now, you remember, you guys, where I said there was that volume problem I had there? When I go to tie it down, I would fix that. But notice here, in this rough stage, you really don't even see it. Because it's down there. It's that movement down there where he's on ones for 6 frames. And it's just ones right there. And that's the glimpse where he goes down up there. Goes by so quick, you're not even aware it, but you feel the drawings.
Yeah.
Hope that makes sense.
Totally. I was just going to say the exact same thing. You feel it, but you don't see it.
Right.
Yeah. And most of the public, excuse me, blah, 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 most of the public out there, when they view animation in any form, they feel certain things, but they don't necessarily see it. So, they can't put their finger on it, but something might feel a little weird or whatever. But that's where you need to focus on making a correction.
Exactly. Yeah. When you look at it, you're seeing, and something's off. You're feeling that something's off in there, because then it's usually you're out of arc or the spacings.
Yeah, could
not correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
And change
Or
of shape,
volumes.
you guys always look for change of shape.
Keeps it interesting.
God, it reminded me of something. What'd you just say, Rico? Reminded me.
Oh, I was talking about how was it dialogue?
No.
Lip shapes? No.
don't know. All right. Any other questions? Should we
I think
sign off here?
no, I don't see any more questions.
All right.
If you guys have any more questions, now's the time. We'll be signing off if there's nothing else to address. Do you have any questions about what Wayne did here? No? David Nethery?
Someone just wrote.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, let's sign off. My back's starting to hurt.
Chadwick Grant says, guys, in your opinion, which is best to animate, animal characters or human characters? Well, that is I guess the operative word here is best to animate. Which is best to animate? Best as far as learning or best as far as...
If you're talking about animal characters like four-legged runs and walks and that sort of thing, I try to stay away from those, but those are very difficult for me. While I was studying, check out Aaron Blade, man. He can animate anything.
I would do both.
Yeah, do both, actually. You want to do both. But to start off with, I would say just like this is an animal character, but he's of human form. So
anthropomorphic, yeah.
Yes. So I would start off with that. And something cartoony and simple, like this character. I wouldn't, man, you don't... I remember when I was first learning, I wanted to say, I'm going to prove myself. And I tried animating a scene of Christopher Robin. Is that his name?
Are you kidding me?
And I tried that. What a mistake that was. I couldn't even draw. And it was like, oh, but I could do that subtle stuff. It was a big mistake. Start off more cartoony in the very beginning, I recommend. Or do whatever really interests you. And draw what interests you. Don't be drawing... It's like, I've always liked the human form, me personally.
Yeah.
What do you like?
You know, that's a really good point. If you start off with what you gravitate to or what you really like or love, that's a great starting point and a springboard because you're going to do better with that than you would something that's really...
Because you got more passion for it.
Right. You can get into it and you learn much more that way. Then you can go and progress to the more difficult stuff that's difficult for you specifically.
Right.
Everybody's chiming in saying, thanks, great job. Emmanuel Padilla asks, can I send you my work and do your criticism so that I will know where to improve more?
That's a question to you, Rico.
I personally don't have time for that. I'm sorry. I wish I did. What can you recommend that they do if you can?
You know, man, I know I've been saying this forever. We're getting a Patreon up there. And I'm going to figure it out. But as of right now, I'm sorry, and I know this is disheartening to hear, but I'm going to get on that. We've been really busy.
Well, what do you mean when you say get on Patreon?
I'm going to get on Patreon. I'm going to try to figure out the different tiers. I'll make a tier to where we can do, I can give a critique once a month for a certain amount of people, but I got to figure it all out. And I know that's really important to you guys. I totally get it.
Arabol asks, stretching, when you're doing stretching, how many frames should one drawing normally last? Because in your animation, it seems to me that it lasts a little longer, or I'm vicious? Ha ha ha.
No, that's I could put that on one frame. I believe. Let's see. I can show. That's a good.
How many frames should one drawing normally last when you're stretching? Because in your animation, it seems to me that it lasts a little longer.
No, I just got it on ones. I don't have it on twos.
Maybe they mean you're stretching things longer than one frame. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, you have a stretch drawing here and a stretch drawing there and a stretch drawing. So that's 3 drawings of stretch. I think that's what they're talking about. It's how long do you stretch it for? Over a 5 frame? You stretch the character over 5 frames?
You know, that's when it comes... It's up to you. Let's say, for instance, I'm going to come up here, turn that on. Let's say that I come there, and I delete that drawing. So I go back, comes down there, and I delete this drawing, and now you'll see it's going to be snappier. So it's up to you. Right in this section, you're going to see, right in here, you're going to see it happens much quicker. Now, some people want it to be that quick. Other people don't. But you'll see as I play it, right? See how quickly it comes down now? Still works.
David Nethery has a good point here. He's pointing out, he says, it could be a lag in the screen sharing on YouTube. So depending on your internet connection, you might be seeing it play back a little bit slower. That might be a factor of what's going on. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But if it is a lag, then this should be lagging. Look, this is just snappier. It's different. I think I even might like that more.
In general, I guess I would suggest, experimenting and try it with and without, mess around with it and see what the effect is that you get from your experimentation. That's the quickest way to learn how these things work.
It is, you guys, because everybody, if you notice with all these top animators, you look at Eric Goldberg animation in comparison to help me out here, Rico.
Start over.
You look at Eric Goldberg's animation in comparison to who did Rafiki? James Baxter.
Oh, James Baxter, yeah.
Animation. One is very cartoony, snappy, poppy. I'm not saying that the other couldn't do it. They have different tastes, sensibilities, just innately of what they find fun and entertaining about animation.
As artists.
As artists, right. So as far as like how long a stretch should be or not be, that's going to be up to you. All I did here is on this scene, you look at this where he comes down. I don't know if it's delayed. I took out those drawings and now it's snappier.
He says his internet connection is slow. He says, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. There's no offense. None at all. But what I want you to understand is, okay, so that's snappier. Turn that off, come here. Turn that on. Here's the original one. I look at it now. I don't know. I'm not going to say which one's better. It's just one's a little more reality based. The other one's just a little more caricatured
of the movement.
You know, and that also matters what director you're with. Some directors want you work for Mark Dindal, man. You got to snap into those poses.
Yeah, he likes that zippy stuff.
Yeah, or someone like Tex Avery.
Yogesh asks, do you guys ever use Adobe Animate?
I never have.
I use it a lot. I've been using it for years. Love it.
What does it do?
It's just a program. It's just
for animating?
Yeah, for animating.
Wow.
I love it.
How many programs do you know?
I don't know. I lost count.
Oh.
A handful, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll have to sit here and think about it, but...
This thing's getting monotonous. Can I turn this?
Yeah, turn it off. Jesus, I'm sick of it too.
It's like I see the thing in my eye all the time.
I just wanted them to see the at speed, so that they could.
But I think that was a good example where I took out those drawings. Still works, just a different feel.
So if there's no other questions, we'll sign off.
We are gonna sign off.
Any more? So okay.
Okay.
All right, you guys, practice, and experiment. Try different things. Mess around with it, Try to break the rules, too. Find out what the rules are, break them, see what happens.
Exactly.
You might discover something. Who knows?
Exactly. It's just like when I took those drawings out. The scene still worked. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. There's just so many things. That's the thing about character, well, all animation, but we're specifically character animation. Remember, you can do whatever you want, whatever your imagination.
That's the fun part.
Can think of. You can do. It's for when this little character is jumping up in the air. Really, people can't hang up in the air as long as he's hanging up in the air when he gets into that pose. So you can get away with everything. That's what makes it fun.
Defying gravity.
Yeah.
You guys are welcome. Everybody's sending in their thank yous.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
All right, Rico, should we say goodbye?
Yep.
Goodbye.
Adios.
All right. Oh, Rico, you got it. Could you hit? I'm sorry, dude. It's not on you. It's on me.
Oh.
I,
Adios.
I'll try.
See you guys later.
And